Welcome to week 1 of the spring of 2024, a new quarter in Explore the Bible. Looking forward to this quarter. We're going to be going through, finishing up the book of Genesis in this quarter. So clearly, again, we're picking big parts of it, going through and skipping a lot of it. Read it. Just read it as we're going through it. That'll help you kind of know the whole story as you go, because we can't cover all of it in a quarter. Today we're going to be in Genesis chapter 22. So we're starting the story of Isaac, really. We're getting the story of Isaac. We've got Abraham, Isaac, and then we'll have Jacob and Esau, and then the story of Joseph to finish off. So looking forward to this passage. I hope that you are as well. Before we go into this passage, be sure and subscribe. If you haven't already, hit the little subscribe button, hit it again, and that'll give you the bell. We'll give you notifications of every time the videos come out. Hit the like button, not the unlike, the like button. Yes, yeah, the like one. Hit that one. That just helps when you do that. If you've got a question or a comment, put that in there. Let me know where you're watching from. Appreciate that. I just think that'd be a cool thing to let me know where you're watching from. And then also want to say, share it with somebody. Okay, that'll help us too, and spread the word. If you want to help our ministry and our missions as well as our teaching, you can go to give.exposedtochrist.com and you can do that there. Okay, we're going to look at Genesis chapter 22. Great story. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, "Abraham, here I am," he answered. "Take your son," he said, "your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I will tell you about." All right, let's just get right to it, right? Abraham, here I am. This is the proper answer. Okay, the proper answer is, here I am. The Lord calls you. Yes, Lord. What do you want? Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love. He's making it real clear about who he's talking about, right? He's not talking about the other son, from Hagar. He's talking about your son, Isaac, the one that you love. He's your only son from Sarah, the one that I promised you, right? The one that I told you would happen. Take that one, who's probably a teenager now, young teenager maybe. We don't really know, but that's our guess, right? And he says, go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering. I don't know about you, but I'm not finding this an easy thing to do. Abraham is challenged right off the bat. And that's what we see this is a test of his faith, which means a test of his trust. Okay, a test of his trust. That's what this is. So we need to see that as exactly what it is. It's a test of his trust. Offer him there as a burnt offering. So Abraham got up early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took with him 2 of his young men and his son Isaac. And he split wood for a burnt offering and set out to go to the place God had told him about. And on the 3rd day, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. Okay, just a couple of things we want to do. Okay, early in the morning the next day, he did not hesitate, it appears. Now, he probably had a long night. And I don't know what he told Sarah. I've often wondered that. What did he tell Sarah about where he was going and what he was going to do, right? But he saddles him up. He's got 2 other young men and Isaac. He split wood for the burnt offering, right? And on the 3rd day, so he travels 3 days. Then Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there to worship. Then we'll come back to you." Look at this. Then we'll come back to you. Now he is fully intending to sacrifice his son Isaac. He's got the wood. He's got the knife, we know that. He's fully intending to sacrifice him. And yet, when he leaves to go do that, he says, "We'll come back to you." Now, Hebrews tells us that Abraham believed in the Lord so much that he believed that he could sacrifice his son, and if God needed to, God could raise him back up from the dead. Because he believed that Isaac was the child of the promise that God had made to him decades earlier, and that if God needed, God would keep his promise. And so if God had to raise Isaac up from the dead, then that's what he would do. He believed, "We'll come back to you." He was not lying to them about that. Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac. In his hand he took the fire and the knife, and the two of them walked on together. So he's got the wood, he's got the fire, and he's got the knife. And then Isaac spoke to his father Abraham and said, "My father?" He replied, "Here I am, my son." Isaac said, "The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Isaac's no idiot. He's looking around going, "We don't have a lamb. We don't have an animal for the offering." And Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." Then the two of them walked on together. Okay. If God needed to provide something else, he would, but God had provided Isaac. I mean, Isaac is there because of the hand of God. Clearly, he knows that, right? That's the only way that Isaac has arrived. Abraham knows that because he was way too old to have a child, and his wife was way too old to give birth. God had already provided Isaac, and he believed God will provide. God will provide the lamb. And so they walked on. And when they arrived at the place that God had told him about, Abraham built the altar there and arranged the wood, and he bound his son Isaac and placed him on the altar on top of the wood. And then Abraham reached out and took the knife to slaughter his son. You hear this? You reading this? Man. Can you imagine what's happening? The conversation that he's having with his son is this elderly man ties up his teenage son and prepares to slaughter him. That's what it says. He took the knife to slaughter him. He was going to be obedient to the Lord to the end. He trusted the Lord. His faith in the Lord was being tested, and he trusted, if this is what the Lord wants me to do, then this must be the right thing. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he replied, "Here I am." That's what he always answered, right? "Abraham, Abraham." And then he said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your only son from me." Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught in a thicket by its horns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it as a burnt offering in place of his son. And Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide," Jehovah Jireh, or Jireh. So today it is said, it will be provided on the Lord's mountain. Okay, I want you to notice that Abraham looked up and he saw the ram after he had shown that he would be willing, he was going to do what the Lord told him to do. Abraham did not go up on the mountain looking for a ram, hoping for a ram, maybe hoping, but not looking. He was going to do what the Lord told him to do, the way the Lord told him to do it, until the Lord told him otherwise. And then the Lord provides the ram, and he named this place, "The Lord will provide," which goes back to this statement back here, where he said, God himself will provide the lamb. Yahweh will provide. Yahweh will provide. So, what do you take from this? Okay, one, God is against child sacrifice. He was not going to ask Abraham to sacrifice his child, or he was not going to allow Abraham to follow through with the sacrifice of his child. This was a test of Abraham's faith. So the child was never really in danger, because if Abraham doesn't have faith, then the child doesn't get sacrificed. And if Abraham does have faith, God's going to stop him before he does it. So the child was never going to be sacrificed. Does that make sense? Okay, now, the other thing is, it is a test, not that the Lord didn't know, but he needed Abraham to know. See, the Lord doesn't test our faith to teach him something. God knows. The Lord tests our faith to show us, or to reveal where we are with him. He tests our faith to reveal what is within us, to push us to the next step of trusting him, past where we are, to be willing to walk in what we talk. That's why he tests our faith. And that's what this test was about for Abraham. He was pushing Abraham, forcing him to walk what he would talk. And Abraham was willing to do it. And in the midst of that, Abraham learned the Lord will provide. Not that Abraham didn't have a head knowledge of that before, because he had said it, right? He said it back here, God himself will provide. But here, He knows, right? He knows here. There's a difference between knowing here and knowing here, and he knows here in his heart now. God will provide. I want to every week have this time of discipleship as we think about being a follower of Jesus, and take each lesson and think about what it means to follow Jesus. And this is that willingness to do exactly what he tells us to, how he tells us to, trusting that God will make it work. Whatever it is, however unbelievable it may seem to others, if we believe and we know, when we are certain this is where God is leading, and it fits with the character of God and the Word of God. Look, God doesn't lead you to do things that don't fit with his character and his Word. But if God leads you to do something and it fits with his character and his Word, then follow him. Be faithful. Allow him to push and test your faith. The problem many of us have is we want to live in a very comfortable faith. The things that we know, that's what we know. And we know what we know, and that's all we want to do is do what we know. And the Lord wants to push us out of that comfortable position, that convenient place, into the place where we have to trust. And we need to live on the edge where we have to trust the Lord, because it is there that God shows himself to us and through us. All right? God will provide. You'll learn things about God in that place that you cannot learn where you are right now. That's just the truth. There are things that God needs to teach you this year that he can only teach you if you're willing to step out in this faith place and live like that. Then he can teach you stuff that you'll never have learned any other way. Hope that's helped. Thanks for teaching, those of you that do. Thanks for watching. Appreciate that. Be sure and subscribe, like, comment, share with somebody else. We'll see you next time.